I think, "Ugh." Do you ever find yourself in survival mode where you're super stressed and you're trying to manage everything and it feels really, really intense and you're saying, oh, this is never going to get better. But then you can find yourself perhaps past that moment and you say, I don't know why I got so wrapped up in it. Don't know what came over me. Is stress just a feeling or is it this kind of complete takeover of the system, of your thoughts, of your reactions, your behavior? And actually, because it's present every day, it's so normalized in our everyday, is it a huge factor in why often our short term actions don't match our long term priorities? And if that is happening a lot, is it you in control of your life or is it just your stress? It's effective to look at these things with a certain level of lightness to kind of check ourselves. It's actually that reflection that really helps generate awareness that can potentially change your relationship with stress, which is something we're going to look at a bit later when we talk about mindfulness. We do have to recognize the seriousness of it. Stress is very different for different people across the world. Of course, there's people in more objectively stressful scenarios, life threatening situations. Stress in itself is an incredibly big issue. For some people, there is no reflection of all. This is a constant state. And what's quite funny is that stress tells us all these stories about our lives and perhaps our ability, and it makes us feel crap about ourselves, but it never judges itself. Stress wants us to stay stressed, but that's not how we should use the response. Stress is a short term response. So, can we take a step back and also say, how do we keep stress short term? So, actually, the long term is ours. Our lives are more intentional. We can make our choices that aren't stress reactions, and we can have more authority in our life. Start straight in there with the thought, I don't have time. I just don't have time. So let me play that back to you. You're literally saying, I don't have time to things that you know don't actually even have a deadline. I think we underappreciate it as being a capacity issue. And I think we will continue to have this issue of burnout in our society if we keep sticking to systems that think about everything in time and productivity and don't start to consider that genuine input is about your engagement limits. It's about your cognitive limits. It's about your emotional capacity. It's not necessarily time. Different things have different emotional weight. They might take the same amount of time to do. That doesn't mean they generate the same amount of stress. Do you think that maybe we just all have our limits on how many personal issues you can be invested in that give you a sense of responsibility? I often find myself feeling responsible for taking on other people's emotional burden, even if that means there's not actually that much practical time investment. And it's like their relief becomes my drain. So it's not necessarily a time thing, it's like an energy thing. And this is where the issue lies because we know that stress drains your energy. It kind of like steals this capacity from you and then it blames time. Often stress reactions or automatic reactions tend to be scrolling on the internet, watching TV, turning to a glass of wine. But you might be giving yourself time back, but then are you giving yourself energy back? Or are those things just another thing that kind of absorb your energy or even numb you? Because I think what you eventually see is that you start to then go into avoidance and then that takes more energy because you're not releasing the emotional weight. I think there is a place for like just letting go. But when that becomes a habit, is compassion effective without accountability? Are your reactions making you more available to yourself? Or are they making you even less available to yourself? I find it really, really effective to have no input time. Because if you think if you come into the evening, you're watching TV or you're reading the news or you're scrolling, you're still taking on more and more information. The other thing you learn with mindfulness, it is possible to tend to the feelings of the situation without trying to repair the situation at the same time. And often it's more effective to do that first. And what you realize is that your reaction to a situation is separate to the situation itself. How does this situation or my views of this situation change as my feelings change? Do you then have time for it? You need that space to switch up the automatic reactions for something that's actually more effective. What happens when we just continue to run on that limited capacity? I think this is where you start to think things like, this is such a big deal, or I have so much to do, or I can't do this. Stress tends to evaluate the seriousness and the risks of your problems based on how you currently feel. You're scared of leaving it, but then it makes you more stressed And so the problems get bigger because you're stressed. What happens? The system becomes overwhelmed. I think what sits behind this as well, something that we've previously spoken about, is how society makes us feel about our worth. We are very performance focused. Am I stressed because of all of the things that I think I need to do? Or am I stressed because of what this might say about me if I don't do them? We feel less and less capable when we're stressed. So we become more and more desperate to prove ourselves. And I think what happens is then we overfocus, we overwork. But when does this kind of like focus, this grind, this determination stop helping and start kind of just consuming every corner of your mind? You get more and more microscopic. And then the more microscopic you get, the more issues there are. A really good example is if you like read your texts or your emails before you get up in the morning, and then you spend like your 10 minutes snooze thinking about those things. You haven't practically done anything to reduce your problems, but you have reduced your capacity because worrying in itself is taking up the headspace. You try and then control your problems with your thoughts. There's no practicality about that. You often hear with mindfulness, stress is a result of trying to control the uncontrollable. And really, the only thing we can do is zoom out. Step back, zoom out, because only when you zoom out do the problems get smaller. You replenish your capacity, your ability to solve problems become better. We know that stress kills our creativity. When we step back and we create open states with mindfulness, we have got the space for that natural skill to come through. I also think the other thing is the importance of honesty. Because when you're really convinced, you need to be really honest with yourself and do your own risk assessment. Take that away from what stress is telling you. How big is this actually? How serious is this actually? How much time do I really have? Just continually pay attention to the perception. Stress makes me feel like I need to do this now. The ironic thing with stress is that it doesn't help you prioritize. It just makes everything feel equally important. This can really affect the way that you prioritize in life because if you start with everything that feels really urgent, being like, oh, I just need to get this done, then I can relax. I just need to get this done. There will always be more things to do, and we will never come to the things that we actually want to prioritize. There's never room for it. Living constantly on the edge of, oh, I'm almost done, and then I can relax. I'm almost done. What we feel day to day is important, might not be what we feel overall is important in life. And I think there's a real difference between intellectually thinking about your priorities and genuinely feeling your priorities. Stress overrides them so much unless you can remind yourself how it really feels to connect with your priorities. One of the reasons I meditate in the morning, that joy that you experience when you let everything all go, that is a tangible reminder of what is important. You sit there and you're like, oh yeah, that's the point. And then it stays with you. So every time stress tries to draw you into overworking, into not prioritizing yourself, you say, actually, no, but I remember what my priorities are because I feel them. There's a couple of other ways that we can do this. It's a cliche, but you know that question of, if you've only got today to live, what would you do? Perhaps it's better to look over 1 week because I think if we had a day to live, then it's not going to be that practical. But if you have a look over your week, is there enough balance between the cramming versus the putting off? Are you happy with your life this week? I think that we should be careful not to trade so much of our life quality now for a future that we don't have. And then finally, that feeling that you feel when you connect with your loved ones as well. What's really funny is that when we're stressed, we know our relationships and human connection are so important for de-stressing, but stress is always keeping you away from that. It makes us defensive. It makes us blame other people. You don't understand. Like, I actually think you're trying to annoy me right now. And these are the things that stress will always tell me. And it kind of normalizes this isolation. And if we continue to live in this cloud, other people in our lives just become more problems rather than people. And that can have a really big impact. It can give us a lot of resentment. It can stop us from nurturing the relationships that are important in life. And it can stop us accessing the support and the collaboration that we need to live happy, healthy lives. You'd think we would learn, you'd think eventually the relaxation system wins. But I think because we live in society that reinforces stress and segregation, really. We said earlier, actually, people can contribute to our stress a lot. So we do have to balance the whole kind of people pleasing, but we do need to appreciate that need for human connection. You can't force it. You can't force joy. There's no point being performatively social. Small chat down the pub hasn't got much chance of providing real deep connection with people. You can't be honest with other people unless you're really honest with yourself. And I think if you can sit and really be honest with how you feel, and you can create the most smallest piece of openness so you can communicate even just the smallest thing to someone else, that fires connection. That really gives this sense of support. Doesn't have to be this like zero sum game where you're like, how do we share it practically? Should I prioritize me? Should I prioritize them? Of course, there's a really important practical element. We know certain members of families have more of the home burden or the emotional burden. So, someone just being like, oh, how can I help you? Might not actually provide practical help nor emotional help. But however, I do think that if you can create genuine connection, then it's that sort of like expression through that communication. It's that being seen that really drives that closeness and it kind of dispels the stress overall. Sometimes I'm like, I don't have the capacity to fully invest in making you feel reassured right now. However, I've looked at this. I think that's going to be okay. And I need you to just trust me that it will. And it actually releases a lot of the burden for, I think, both the giver and the receiver of that, because that person has trust of like, my problems are being heard and somebody else is saying to me, no, this is going to be okay, without the other person making this whole emotional investment in that. It's not a perfect system. A lot of it does come down to practical load. A lot of us face a lot of challenges, but I think that that sense of we're in it together can reduce the intensity of stressful situations. Effective stress management system, what would that involve? Meditation, probably movement, fresh air, carving out time for yourself. But I think what happens is a lot of those things fall off when you need them the most. It's stress that will convince you that you don't have time for those things, that there's other things that are more urgent, that are more important. So with mindfulness, not only does it provide meditation practices, of course, that help you relax, dispel stress efficiently, help you regulate, build resilience, but it also helps you develop awareness over time that stops allowing stress to hijack your choices. And it can help you change the way you relate to these thoughts and these beliefs and these perceptions that you have in those moments. And over time, it starts to bring around this kind of transformation to your relationship with stress. And that's not easy, but I think the more we stop letting stress decide what's important for us, the more authority we have in our lives. I think that's pretty important.